Where Late the Sweet Bird Sang by Kate Wilhelm is absolutely my favorite science fiction book and a very, very good one for beginners to get into. This is a book about clones, essentially, and it is during a post apocalyptic event, and a bunch of humans end up creating clones. And in part one, we kind of see them having to deal with one, society, normal society breaking down, and then two, creating the clones and sort of observing them as humans from the outside perspective. Part two deals with several years down the line. There are no humans anymore, it's just the clones, and we deal with the sort of the drawbacks with the clones as well. Guys, also, if you're don't forget to like and subscribe and sign up to my Patreon as well for full length book reviews. Part two really deals into the weaknesses of the clones and just how similar and how alien they are to humans as we know them. And part three deals with one of the two aliens having a child naturally who, for the first time in a long time, isn't part of this alien clone. They might as well be aliens. This clone cohort, and so we kind of come full circle in terms of collectivism versus individualism as well. Very, very good book. I This is one of those books that I put down and then I was just like, wow, epic book. Very, very good book to get into, especially if you want a book about clones as well. Excellent, excellent book. There's a reason this is part of the SF Masterworks collection. There is a very, very good reason why. The Harvest by Robert Charles Wilson, is a first contact science fiction book that is just absolutely fantastic. It is also post-apocalyptic slash post-utopian as well. This is a fantastic book. It is about a species of aliens who come to Earth, sort of orbit the planet for a year without making contact, getting sort of everyone all paranoid, and then eventually it offers everyone on the planet immortality. And we deal with the fallout of that as one in 10,000 people do not take up the offer to become immortal. And we kind of follow the people who are sort of left behind while also getting glimpses into the people who really took up the offer and how they're becoming detached from their body and less than human, which they knew going into the deal. Like they knew they'll become less than human. Fantastic book. I read this literally a few weeks ago and it stayed with me since. An absolutely epic, epic book. Going on to sort of the young adult, middle grade school for my American viewers type of book, we have The 100 by Kass Morgan. TV show is extremely popular. I remember watching it. I really, really like the TV show. The books are slightly different. Actually, no, the books are actually quite different from the TV show, which is actually very, very good. In this, if you don't know the premise for The 100 by now, oh wow, front covers and tatters. Um, After I guess it was a nuclear event, um, Earth put some people up in orbit so that they could, be sheltered from the event, and humanity is a Generation Starship story as well. Humanity has been living in the spaceship, orbiting the planet for generations, and they send after sort of kind of not being so sure if the planet was habitable yet. They send down 100 young criminals to see if the Earth is livable. And so we follow these young adults as they land and try to organize themselves. And we get a lot of like flashbacks into like their past lives on the ship. It is a very good book. I really, really, really like this book. It is due a reread as well. And I do need to finish the series. There are four books in this series. The other two were standalones. 1984 by George Orwell. Again, this really doesn't need any sort of introduction, this book. It is an absolutely classic dystopian science fiction book and is really touching heavy themes of control, oppression, and also love as well. And this book really surprised me when I read it a few years ago. I need to reread it for sure. Again, there's a reason why it's on the SF Masterworks collection. Fantastic book. And this is a book, if you haven't picked it up, you've heard it everywhere. You've heard 1984, especially whether you've been in Whether you're like familiar with like BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, but also if you are into sort of like political commentary as well, you've heard people whenever there's talk about oppression, they usually reference 1984, and for good reason too. Rounding off the SF Masterworks collection that's on this list, we have I Am Legend by George Matheson, Richard Matheson. I'm doing horrible with names right now. This is a short book about well, you guys know I Am Legend. You know, there was a whole flipping movie about it, right? But we follow Robert as he's the last man on Earth, surrounded by vampires, and we're literally in his head as he tries to deal with his loneliness and his vices, and just how he survives day to day. This is a very short book. It's only 140-ish pages, 160 pages. This has the greatest ending of a book I've ever read. I didn't really like the book as a whole when I read it about 2 years ago. I do need to reread it now that I'm a bit more of a mature reader. But I know the ending is one of the greatest of all time. It absolutely floored me, and it really links into the name very, very well. I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was exceptional. There's a reason why this is a classic. This is rightfully a classic. Speaking of classics, I have The Day of the Triffids. This is actually also on the SF Masterworks list, but I didn't pick up that copy. I got this Penguin copy, which was pretty cool as well. This is absolutely a fantastic post ecological post-apocalyptic science fiction book. In this book, everyone has essentially gone blind. There was a cosmic event where there was a flash of green light in the sky, and everyone who saw it is now blind, which was most of the population, as it was supposed to be like a whole proper like event, kind of like a solar eclipse. Like everyone usually shows out and watches them. And in this book, we are following Bill as he wakes up in a hospital. He had an eye injury and therefore he didn't see it. And we kind of follow him as he tries to survive, and he links up with other survivors in this world. And there's also a bit of philosophical musings about like how much we should help those who are less fortunate than us, in this case, the blind. And then you also got the Triffids. The Triffids are a very sort of like, I guess, tall plant in this book that can walk when they grow to full length, and then also have stingers that can extend up to 6 feet long. And they have been known to be lethal. And if you don't seek medical attention straight away, they will kill you. And that adds absolutely fascinating aspect to this book as well. This is really good. If you like one of those just a bewildered a bewildering post-apocalyptic book where it's just like, what is going on? Wow, everything's gone to absolute crap. And then also the science fiction elements as well that are really laced in there. Really, really exceptional book, especially for beginners. This is a classic for a reason. I believe this is like 75 years old at this point. This was released in the 50s. I think 51. I have a full length review of this on the channel. Yeah, first published 1951. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. Scythe by Neal Shusterman is a quartet in this absolutely exceptional world. I love this book because it is science fiction, it is post utopian, and it deals also with AI as well. And it is young adult. So in this book, in this world, humanity has essentially conquered death. We have a benevolent AI called the Thunderhead that rules the world. It rules everyone's lives. It can check everyone's sort of like vitals, how they're doing, their physiological reactions, and it keeps the human race alive and sort of doing what they want to do. The only problem is overpopulation. And so scythes are humans who have been selected to essentially kill other humans just to keep the overpopulation problem under control. And in this book, we follow two teenagers, Citra and Rowan, as they are selected by the Honourable Scythe Faraday to become his Scythe apprentice. And they train and they learn what it means to be a Scythe. And it's just absolutely exceptional. But unfortunately, one of them is gonna have to kill the other. Exceptional book. Love this series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I love that this is quite unique in the fact that every chapter we get sort of philosophical musings from Scythe about what it means to be burdened with this job of having to kill people and just their way of life as well. Absolutely exceptional. This is due a reread as well. It's been a few years. I really need to get back to this because Thunderhead, the second book in the series, is basically, I keep saying this, is up there with Golden Sun by Pierce Brown and Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins as like the greatest middle book ever. And also Goblet of Fire as well. I always forget that Goblet of Fire is technically a middle book. Also Goblet of Fire, the most exceptional middle books just ever. So yeah, definitely pick this up. If you want even younger adult, Maze Runner, the Maze Runner series, there is 5 books in this series. Um, this is exceptional. Maze Runner as well. This was part of, even though this is sci-fi dystopian, this was part of the teen dystopian craze in the 2010s, which was the absolute best time ever. Like I literally was a teen during that era, and it was the greatest thing. And so Maze Runner, you should know the premise by now. We have a whole bunch of guys that are locked into this maze, and they're just trying to survive. They don't know what's going on. Their mind has been wiped, and they're trying to figure out this maze to really get out. But at the same time, they've lived there so long that they're a bunch of them are actually quite comfortable. They have a system going up. They have law and order, and we follow Thomas as he is the latest recruit that's dumped into this maze, has no memory of his past life, just like everyone else. And we deal with him really trying to find answers about the maze, about this monster called the Grievers that sort of haunt the maze as well. Exceptional, exceptional. Exceptional premise. I prefer the film to the book series greatly. I did last year read the series as part of my rereading as an adult playlist. You know, it was mid. It was mid, but at the same time, it's absolutely epic for beginners. The last 2 books in the series are the best, but yeah, excellent for beginners though. All right, this is the last of the sort of young adult side of things. We have 172 Hours on the Moon. This is a Swedish novel, I believe, that was translated into English. Or was it a Danish novel? I can't actually. No, don't know what else happened. This is this is a good beginner book. This is actually, in terms of like beginner books, definitely pick this up. We follow a few POVs, a few young adults, a few, well, not young adults, they're kids, they're teenagers, as they are selected by NASA to go to the moon. They are trying to get away from their lives. They have certain things going on in their lives that you know, kind of propels them to be like, you know what, let me just go to the moon and get away from things. But there is a secret as to why NASA hasn't sent anyone to the moon in like 40 years or something like that. And even and they find out, the characters fuck around and find out, or NASA really fucks around and finds out. The ending of this book is absolutely brilliant, even though it low key doesn't make sense, but it was low key like, oh shit. So I enjoyed it. I think I gave this 4 stars as well. I breezed through it. It was pretty cool. There's some pretty like sort of like cool pictures as well in this as well, and like diagrams and stuff. I'm not quite sure why. Um, but yeah, yeah, a few other things, bits and bobs. You get some of that in this book. So I don't know. I liked it. This was on my TBR for years before I got to it, and I'm glad I got to it. I think it was it earlier this year I got to this. So yeah, definitely a good one for beginners as well. So pick it up. Lastly, World War Z by Max Brooks. Again, this has been like a lot of the books on this list has been adapted to the big screen or the small screen. This one's the big one. I loved the film. The film is one of those films that you can just rewatch again and again and again and again. And this book is different from the films. This is a different sort of formatted book from the rest of the books in here. Here we are interviewing those who survived a zombie apocalypse. And just what went down in their country. So we're interviewing people all around the world. Some were part of the military, some were just ordinary people, some were disabled, some were just chronically online. We follow all sorts of people, young, old, we follow them. And we see how different countries had different responses to the zombie apocalypse, and how all these characters had different responses to the zombie apocalypse. This book, it was a good book, definitely high. I recommend reading it as well, but it is disjointed because we're getting the overall feel about a zombie apocalypse, but and we're getting people's stories, but it's misjointed because you're just going from one one part of the world to the next part of the world to the next part of the world to the next part of the world. We don't revisit these characters again. We're really just getting a picture of what it was like worldwide. We're getting a timeline as well of the zombie apocalypse. So that's what's different about this. Again, I still enjoyed it. It's still definitely worth a read as well. And if you enjoy zombie apocalypses, then like obviously pick this up. So yeah. Anyway, guys, let me know what other like beginner sci-fi books would be good to recommend. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening.